95% of coaches never even make it to the 10K per month mark. And the ones who do, less than 10% of those ever make it across the 7-figure mark. Now, this presentation I gave to our highest level coaching clients at our last live in-person event. And I'm sharing it with you because it highlights the 3 specific things that separate the coaches who scale beyond 7 figures and the ones who keep trying and stall out every single time that they try. So let's get into it. There's 3 sets that are required to accomplish any goal, right? You have mindsets, tool sets, and skill sets. Tool sets, the right tools to actually accomplish the goal, right? Your iPhone is a tool. The internet is a tool, right? Your sales script is a tool. But you also have to have the right skill sets, right? Your sales skills, your objection handling skills, your marketing skills, your content skills, your leadership skills, right? Tools are quite easy to learn. Tools are quite quick to learn. Skills take longer to master, right? They take practice, repetition, feedback, support. And then obviously you have to have the right mindset as well. If you don't have all 3 of these, you're not going to get to where you want to go. Now, what we've found, obviously, after having worked with thousands of people, is there's essentially different quote unquote sets depending on which level of the business you're trying to get to, right? So if you're just starting off as a coach and you're trying to get to 10, 20, 30K per month, there's a certain set that you need. You need certain mindsets, certain skill sets, certain tool sets. But as Marshall Goldsmith says, what got you here won't get you there. What gets you to 30K per month is not going to get you to 100K per month. So we have our LSD model. A lot of you guys have seen our LSD model that can get you to 20, 30, depending on your price point, maybe 40K per month, 50K per month. But as soon as you're starting to go beyond that, you need different things, right? And that's exactly what we're going to be going through. So it's how do you know what to do, where to focus, what to learn, and when to do it. Obviously, when it comes to accomplishing your goals, you guys have all seen this before, right? When it comes to accomplishing your goals, we always think, yeah, my business is just going to grow linearly. It's going to go from here to here, right? And that obviously never happens. It normally grows in more of a stair-step fashion, which is pretty much aligned with these different sets. Right? So, for example, when you're first starting off, you're basically just like fumbling around learning the right mindsets, tool sets, and skill sets. And you will learn, put in a bunch of energy, put in a bunch of time, and not get anywhere until all of the things click at once. And then all of a sudden, your business goes to this next level. Well, why didn't it just keep going? Well, because there's new sets you need to learn. You need to learn new skill sets, new tool sets, and a new mindset to get you to that next level. And you plateau. Sometimes you even dip down a little bit because you have to invest in yourself, test things out, change things. And then obviously you go up to the next level, go up to the next level. That's how businesses grow. So this is our 7-figure model. We break it down into 3 major pieces: the CEO, the company, and the client acquisition. Now, before we get into it, the one thing that I always want to talk about, when you look at this model, right, there's 3 main pillars or 3 circles, 3 areas for you to focus on. And I always think about these like a 3-legged chair, right? As you grow your business, you have to grow all 3 areas together. This is the balancing act of entrepreneurship. If you're not able to do this, right, if you grow all 3 together, what happens is you get a 3-legged chair. Anybody sat in a 3-legged chair? Stable, right? Anybody ever sat on a 2-legged chair? I hope not. You guys ever seen a company or a coach or an entrepreneur where they do really well and then, maybe they focus on themselves and they build out this massive company, but lead generation didn't follow, right? It's like, you're not getting anywhere, right? Or I've seen a lot of entrepreneurs and coaches where they build out this amazing company, they build out the lead generation, this whole thing grows, but they themselves did not grow and they sabotage the whole thing and bring it down. You guys ever seen that before? Of course. What we're going to do now is we're going to break down the 7-figure model. So the first pillar we're going to talk about is the CEO pillar. This is how you go from being a coach to being a CEO. To get to 20, 30, 40, 50K per month, you just need to be a coach. You can basically be a solo entrepreneur with great energy, maybe a VA or 2 or stuff like that. And you can get to 30, 40, 50K. It will not allow you to get to 7 figures, right? That requires a different level of you, and it requires you to start to think like a business owner, less like a coach. Most coaches make long-term decisions on short-term emotions. They don't take care of themselves, mind, body, and energy the way that they need to, and they haven't become the leader that deserves $1 million business, because along with $1 million business comes $1 million problems. When you're first starting off, there aren't a lot of people relying on you. So you can be kind of like a campfire, right? You can get a handful of people around a campfire and everybody can keep warm. That's enough energy. If you want a 7-figure business, you're going to have to be bigger than that. So the definition of success here is your energy is 10 out of 10. Your desire is 10 out of 10. Your confidence is 10 out of 10. As close to all the time as possible. Desire and energy is what most people kind of combine into like motivation. It's your responsibility to dictate how motivated you are. You need to make sure you're taking care of your energy. You need to make sure that you're stoking that flame, your desire, your want. If you know that you need to come to these masterminds to get this energy, you do it, right? If you know that you need to do the breath work every single day to put yourself in that state and in that energy, you do it. Your FFE, focus, faith, and effort, should be 95 to 98% as much as possible. When you're first starting off and you're a coach and your FFE is like 80 to 90, right? It's like, oh, we can make that work. But as soon as you start to have team members, it's the law of the lid. Nobody on your team will ever exceed your level. So if you're at a 90, everybody else on the team is going to be like an 80 to 85 or lower. Now we get a lot of tools for this. Obviously the FFE is one. Zone of Genius, figuring out your zone of genius and spending as much time on it as possible. I know Kate, we had a conversation about that a couple of weeks ago. Your business plan to build that desire, that flame, that motivation, the emotional dump, breath work, things like we did this morning to help you move through all the crappy stuff, barrier breakthrough sessions, planning your perfect week, constantly working on your own beliefs and habits to be 7-figure worthy. So the next one is leadership. In the beginning, you start by leading yourself. Eventually, you get to the point of leading people. And after that, you become a leader of leaders. The definition of success here, I want to keep it super easy. If you're 10 out of 10, you could get anybody to join you in this endeavor. Obviously, the tools for that, things like the dichotomy of leadership training, the vivid vision, leadership habits. To give you my thoughts on this, I would rank myself a 9. Here's the way that I want you to think about this. If my goal is $400K a month, if my goal is $200,000 a month, if my goal is $85K in my speaking business per month, right? If that's my goal, from a leadership standpoint, am I a 10 out of 10 leader for that level of business? The next one from a CEO standpoint is decision making. Going from being emotionally responsive to database decisions. It's simple, but it's not easy. Like if you're emotionally responsive or reactive and you're having visceral triggers to all sorts of these things that are going on, it's going to prevent you from making the right decisions in your business. You know how we all have these two voices in our head, right? I call them human animal and human spirit. Human animal is responsive. It's human instinct, right? The definition of human instinct is any action, thought, or belief done to relieve tension. Consciousness leans into tension because it creates growth. It expands our capacity. Anybody ever said like, yeah, but Xander, my intuition's telling me to do X, Y, Z. Anybody ever thought that before? Raise your hand. Yeah, all the time, right? Jay and I have this conversation all the time. I am a total woo-woo spiritual guy. Spiritual as fuck, right? I learned a long time ago that my intuition doesn't know shit when it comes to what I need to do next in my business. Because I've never been there. I've never had a $2 million a month coaching business. So why am I relying on my intuition? So obviously we have a ton of tools for this, right? We've got the All Data No Drama Tracker, the financial calculator, projections, scorecards, obviously the emotional work. One of my favorite things that I learned a long time ago, I had a mentor of mine talking about the masterminds that he was a part of and the mentors that he worked with. And he's like, I think of my masterminds as insurance. I am an emotional mess. This is my insurance policy. Like if I don't have my mentorship and my masterminds, I'm going to go make some really dumb emotional decisions. So that's the CEO level. The company level is the next pillar. Now the big thing that we're going from here, how do you go from being a one man or one woman band to being a purpose-built machine on a mission? How do you go from I have a mission to this mission has me? Right? You are just the engine that drives this machine forward, but there are a lot of other pieces that are on this mission as well. Most leaders, most coaches, I should say, as their new leaders, don't bring on the right people in the right way or put them in the right seats. They don't create the right processes or environment for their success. And the truth is, bad processes break good people. If you've ever heard good people fix bad processes, it is not true. Bad processes break good people. And they don't create the infrastructure to scale the product and service without degradation. Because at this point, we're going from just being a coach to having a company. So the first part is the product. How do we go from being founder dependent to being replicable, something like that? Three things for the definition of success here, right? Definition of success, first, focused, scalable delivery. Now there's two ways that I check this out for people, right? Is it scalable? Meaning, if I gave you 5 times the amount of clients you have right now, could you handle it? Number 2, is it focused, right? A lot of coaches get stuck at the multi-6-figure mark because they actually have too many products, right? They start creating, oh, well, there's this person that I could help, so I'm gonna go create something for them. And there's this person that I could help, I'm gonna go create something for them. And before you know it, you've got 4 or 5 or 6 different products, right? I have never met a 7-figure coach with more than 2. Almost every single one of them, front end, back end. Front end short-term program, 2 to 3 months, longer term monthly recurring back end program. The 2-stage rocket model. One of my favorite quotes from Oprah, she says, you can have it all, you just can't have it all right now. Like, you can have it all, but like, if you focus down, the quicker you focus down, the quicker you scale, the easier it is for you to have the resources to go broad again. And the second thing is you want to maximize lifetime value. Reason for this, right, is because as you scale, everything in your business starts to get more expensive. In the beginning, when you're doing sales, you're not paying a sales commission. Once you bring on a salesperson, you have to pay out a sales commission. As soon as you bring on a coach, you're paying out a coach. Then you bring on operations layer. After that, you start to bring in management layer. So as your business scales, all of your expenses and all of your overhead starts to add up. And if you're not maximizing your lifetime value, you're going to start to hit a limit where the economics just don't work. There's 2 ways to maximize lifetime value. 3 ways kind of, but they all kind of come to the same 2. Can I increase price, or can they pay me more over time? Now, there's several ways for them to pay you more over time. One of them is to retain them for longer. Or, for example, if you don't have a back end, Kate, we talked about this the other week. If you don't have a back end or you're not selling it, sell them into a back end, right? Obviously, a couple of tools for this, the 2-stage rocket model, front end, back end, the reverse hybrid model. And this is all going to be about your people and your processes, right? So how good are you at putting the right people in with the right processes to create an environment to support them to succeed? So the next part of company is people. Normally, as coaches start to get to this point and they start to need to bring on team members, they do my favorite thing in the world, which I call filling the gaps. The vast majority of coaches just start grabbing people and putting them into roles. And then what they do, it's called creating a role around a person. They're just grabbing someone near them. Why do we do this, by the way? It's easy. We're fucking lazy. And my favorite part about this is, like, I did this and everybody I know that's ever been through Scale has done this. And then what happens is you bring someone on and then you justify, you're like, no. Like, I don't think I could have found anybody better. Like, they're a really good fit for this. And then like 6 months later, they leave and they take half your clients with you and they shit all over you online. And you're like, yeah, I saw that coming. You guys, the definition of success here is you have an A+ team that's self-driven, aligned, and who drive the mission without you. 3 questions to ask yourself when hiring. Can they do it? Will they do it? Do they want to do it? The most important one is, do they want to do it? I'll give you guys one little tidbit of knowledge that I've learned on interviewing and hiring so far. 10 to 1. If you interview 10 people, you start with 10 people, you will be able to find one truly A+ player. So what about processes? I think this is a kryptonite for a lot of coaches, right? This is how you go from being a pedal bike to being a Ferrari. The definition of success here is the business can run and grow without you. It's a really key distinction. It takes a lot of work to get to a business that can run without you. It's a whole different level to get a business that can grow without you. Now, this pillar is going to be one of the most important things moving forward with AI, because it'll allow your business to be AI enabled. An AI enabled employee is worth 3 times what you pay them. That means if you have an employee that you're paying $60,000 a year, if you actually properly AI enable them, they're worth $180,000. They're worth 3 employees now, based on what AI can do. Is that mind-blowing to anybody else? But the only way that AI can properly work is turning all of your intuitive genius into processes. So obviously we have tools to do this, the client acquisition and delivery engines. All right. Clients, really client acquisition is what we're talking about here. This is the ability and systems to scale new client business consistently, right? Most coaches want a hose or a faucet that you can turn up and turn down as you please, but most have an unpredictable trickle, right? They have no single scalable lead source, can't target a specific cost per acquisition, and they have sales limited by the energy of the founder, and you're not expanding your time on brand to make sales easier. Definition of done here is consistent conversion, and the second definition is sales not limited by you. I'd say probably around 1/3 of the coaches that we've helped across the 7-figure mark are able to get across 7 figures as the sole salesperson. So depending on your price point, depending on how good you are at sales, this is often one of the last things that you hand off to somebody else. But at some point, even if you get across 100K per month, you're not going to get to 300K per month doing your own sales. And then tools, obviously sales mastery, sales team leadership, $1 million offers, making sure that your offer is really tight, really strong. I know, Bina, that was one of the first things that we worked with when you came back, was like, let's tighten this offer up again. So next one's automated leads. To get to 20, 30, 40K per month as a coach, most of us kind of follow the shotgun approach. We do a bunch of different shit. But if you want to scale to 7 figures, multiple 7 figures, you have to have laser focus. So definition of success here from a lead generation standpoint is 1, maybe 2 scalable lead generation channels and a calculatable cost per acquisition. We need to be able to calculate what it actually costs us to acquire a client. If you're doing paid advertising, obviously that's relatively straightforward. We'll talk about this a little bit later as well when it comes to our numbers. But if you're not doing paid advertising, you can still calculate your cost per acquisition based on manpower and hours, or like if you have a VA that's doing your conversations or your DMs, you can calculate what it costs them to actually do that. You can calculate, there's different ways that you can calculate this, but you need to be able to calculate what it actually costs you to acquire a client. Obviously, we have a ton of different tools around this that are entirely dependent on what lead generation methodology you're following. If you're following the influencer model, the collaborator model, the hustler model, or the prodigal model, you're going to be focusing on different tools, right? So anything from the simplest funnel ever, the Genius Workshop, the newsletter funnel, obviously scaling your organic content, DM setters, AI setters, whatever it might be. And then the last one is time on brand. With the way that the coaching industry has gone, there's been a lot of, you guys have seen in the last few years, there's been a lot of trash in the coaching space, and it's created a little bit of a trust deficit. Trust is one of the biggest commodities that we're looking for here in the industry. And one of the best ways to build trust is time on brand. How much time people actually spend with you on your brand, right? In the beginning of your coaching business, most likely people have very minimal no love and trust factor with you. We want to take them from minimal no love and trust to complete fanboys and girls. How do we get to that point? Now, what we've found is really key from a content standpoint and brand standpoint. I don't know, whatever it was, 15 years ago, everybody would have considered your brand your website or something like that, right? But really, your brand is built through content and conversations. 1 short form channel, 1 long form channel, and email. None of this omnipresent, I'm going to be everywhere bullshit. In fact, most of our clients, when they cross the 7-figure mark, they're on 1 channel. But to go from 7 figures to multiple 7 figures, you start to expand and you do need multiple channels. Short form would be like Instagram, TikTok. Long form would be like YouTube, podcast. And then 46 minutes. A good friend of mine, Sharon Srivatsa, basically ran a test on how much content his audience needed to consume before they bought from him. And he found that 46 minutes was kind of the tipping point. If somebody consumed less than 46 minutes, it was really hard to get them to buy. If they consumed more than 46 minutes, it was like they take out their credit card and they're good to go. This could be reading emails. This could be watching YouTube videos, listening to a podcast, Instagram, whatever, you name it. Now, not everybody's going to need 46 minutes, right? You might have your innovators, and they might watch 3 or 4 of your Instagram reels, like 1.5-minute videos. They get 5 minutes of you. They're like, I'm in, let's go. But then you'll get other people that need to consume more of you before they're fully sold. Obviously, we get a lot of tools on this. The Branding 101 training that we did last year, Builders and Drivers, Becoming Movie Ready, any of our trainings on podcast, YouTube, website, and email. So you get it now. Most coaches don't fail because they lack talent. They fail because they're running a 7-figure vision on 1 or 2 legs of a 3-legged chair. The CEO, the company, the clients. All 3 have to grow together or you'll never make it. And if you watch this video and realize you're not quite at this stage yet, you just need to get to like 20 to 30K per month first, that's totally fine. Go ahead and check out this next video. It'll show you exactly how to get to that 20 to 30K per month mark so that you can come back to this model when you're ready and actually run with it.